It's the second time it's happened to me today. It does not like to go to full presenter mode, so bear with me on my slightly smaller slides. But I just have a few slides and we'll do some demo here. But I'm Nick Kuhn. I'm a product marketing engineer for VMware Tanzu. And I'm going to be talking about how you can do some enterprise-ready chatbots with GenAI for Tanzu Platform for Cloud Foundry. Quick disclaimer, we are talking about some beta products here. So everything's obviously subject to change, and the normal disclaimer that we got to present when we talk about future-facing things. But just quick agenda. We're going to cover some basic GenAI concepts, just so everyone's on the same page, and then give a very quick high-level overview of what VMware Tanzu is. We're going to go over the GenAI on Tanzu Platform overview. We're going to deep dive into some app architectures and do some demos. And please feel free ask some questions. I have some tokens here, and I believe the tokens are equivalent to a shirt in the swag store. So feel free to ask questions. Just some quick overview here. AI terminology. Hopefully you know what most of these mean, but just in case you don't, GenAI or generative AI, it's like ChatGPT, this new type of AI that generates text, images, and pretty much everything now. So we'll see how that continues to play out. But then that's really powered by large language models, and those are really the algorithms behind the scenes. And we seem to be in an arms race now to who can make the best large language model, and these seem to be getting released on a weekly basis now. And a key part in a lot of these, enterprise use cases or chatbot style things is something called retrieval-augmented generation, a RAG, and it is a way or technique to enhance the LLM past its training data or provide external sources, or basically data that it doesn't know, and make it available to it. And then that's really accomplished through this process called embeddings. And then embeddings are typically, essentially, you take a document and then you translate that into a numerical value that the model can understand. And that's essentially then you typically store that in some type of vector database, like Postgres, PG Vector. A lot of the data stores have some embedding, a plugin now to store all these embeddings and go from there. So a quick high-level view of what Tanzu is. I'm going to skip this slide. But Tanzu, right? So a lot of people talk to me and they think Tanzu is just Kubernetes distribution. But Tanzu is, and actually officially today, it's no longer they rebranded TKG to I think something VCF something. I don't remember the name. But Tanzu is a portfolio of products. So we have multiple application runtimes. One that's based on Cloud Foundry, one that's based on Kubernetes. We have something called Tanzu Cloud Health, which is a cloud health management tool. We have all the Tanzu data services, Postgres, MySQL, Valkey now, Greenplum, Gemfire, with the Tanzu application catalog, which is powered by Bitnami, and the Bitnami OSS open source side is also us as well. And then we're the stewards of Spring, which is the largest Java framework and ecosystem in the world. And we have a lot of devs behind that ecosystem. And just a quick high-level view of what I'm going to be talking about today. We're going to deep dive into the Tanzu platform for Cloud Foundry runtime. And that is essentially a platform as a service that's based on Cloud Foundry, which is an open source project. It predates Kubernetes, so it's been around for quite some time. And it has years and years of global production runtime for millions of applications out there, that type of thing. And it's also pluggable, so you can add additional services like database as a service, and that's where things like the Tanzu data services come into play as well. But it really focuses on this key concept of going to source code URL pretty quickly. And we find some tremendous value out of that with the platform, a very efficient scale with folks running Tanzu Platform for Cloud Foundry, where typically we'll see numbers of 200 to 1, where you'll have a platform engineer supporting 200 developers, even more. And this is actually just recently verified by the ESG report, which was kind of just actually refreshed and republished with even more modern data as well. So this is even relevant to more of the cloud native ecosystem as well. So then we have CF push and CF bind. You'll see that here, how you can easily get into production and bind to these services. And the platform has a very good security story where It does very good best practice container security for you. We can repair the platform. We can repave it and patch out a new, OS update or platform update without going down. So that really saves a whole lot of time and really drives that efficiency. So almost done with the slides. What we really focus on with the CF push is, here's my source code running the Cloud Foundry. I don't care how. That's what this is all based on, about just really getting developer productivity and simplicity. And if we'll dive in this really quickly here, but the Tanzu platform, you're deploying with that, it's really about taking all of these steps and automating that into a simple install, one command. And this is more of, you don't have to worry about like finding, a place to where you run your applications, how to manage your source code, library dependencies, where to put your host on, what container host you're going to reuse, environment variables, firewalls, load balancers, certificates, monitoring logs. That's all kind of wired up in one command. So let's give a brief overview of what GenAI for Tanzu Platform is, and then we'll get into the demos, because I think the demos are a little bit more fun than slides. So a year ago today, we were at the VMware Explorer Las Vegas hackathon, and Long Win, who is our lead engineer, had this idea, like, we should wire up this new GenAI stuff that's happening to Cloud Foundry. And what we see today is essentially the productionalized version of that hackathon, which we're still in public beta, but we're targeting to release GA with a coincide release of Tanzu Platform 10, which coming sometime soon. So we'll be in GA by the end of the year, and I think that's a pretty cool story to say that we went from a hackathon to GA product. But what does that really look like behind the scenes? It allows you to deploy models, whether that be within. Then, if you're not familiar with this view, this is the operations manager view. It's just kind of the platform engineering view of the platform. But you can configure different models like VLM or Llama with support for NVIDIA GPUs or CPUs. We can wire directly into VMware Private AI. So if they announced some pretty cool stuff too as well this morning. If you have a VMware Private AI foundation, we can wire into that and use those awesome GPUs that come with that, and help drive your app use cases there as well. And what we really find a lot of this is that obviously there's a big use case for keeping your data private and not sending it to these models that are on publicly on the internet, or third-party models that there's been multiple use cases of data leaking and bad things happening already. But then also significant TCO or cost savings, because these models charge per token. So you'll see that you ask it a question, it comes back with like a 1,000-character response. That's pretty close to 1,000 tokens, and those are all like it's billed per token. And real production world use cases, that starts to add up pretty quickly. When you're just kind of playing around with it, it's not that big a deal. But we're starting to see, as more customers adopt this type of technology, they have quickly become very concerned about their spend on some of these models. So one more slide, I believe. We'll skip that. What does it look like behind the scenes? So we'll deploy an app on the foundation, the SpringAI, so that we have our PCF foundation, which is like the application runtime. We're going to wire in that new tile, the GenAI on TPCF tile. It actually runs a GenAI proxy, which we're going to rename that to Tanzu AI server here shortly. But essentially, this Tanzu AI server is going to broker all these different models behind the scenes, and whether they're Bosch models or VPAVE models or third-party models, it kind of manages that routing tier of going to the different models, and then the models will spin up the preferred inference engine, whether that be VLM, Llama, or the immediate NIM that comes with VMware Private AI Foundation, things of that nature, and kind of get you going there. And then you'll want to wire into Postgres or Gemfire or Greenplum to store your embeddings and run some kind of advanced data pipelines as well. So I'm done with slides for now. Actually, I lied. One more slide. We have an architecture. So I'm going to go push this app really quickly. We're going to get Spring Metal into production, and then we're going to do some other apps. And I think I have some more time here. So let's do that. So we're going to deploy Spring Metal. We're going to create a Postgres database, which is already created. And then I'm going to wire up 2 large language models for this application to use. So let's break out of here, hopefully. Okay. Let's fix my screen here a little bit. So I'm going to go ahead and fix that, and then create a couple models. So we'll go to Apps Manager here. We'll go to my Spring Metal space, and I'm going to create a service. So if you haven't seen this before, this is kind of the marketplace view. I've already created this Postgres database. This is going to be the album store and the vector DB store for my application. I'm going to go ahead and create a new service. I'm going to bind it to Llama 3.1 because I need chat. And I'm going to do this, paste this name in here. This is going to be my chat large language model. So different models are geared for different things. Some are geared more for the chat side of the house, and some are geared for embeddings. Some are geared for InVision and things of that nature. So let's add another one here. So I'm going a little fast here because I want to try to get to the other ones too. Yeah, so this mini LM is an embedding model. We'll add that as well. And then we should then be able to push that application to the platform. So yeah, we pre-provision the services, the 2 large language models in the database. Let's go ahead and kick off that push. Hopefully we're still connected here. All right, that looks good. So let's go ahead and see a push, clear, see a push. And if you haven't seen this before, this is the see a push process that makes things so easy. So I've got a jar file that's pre-compiled. That's right here. So I compiled this jar file. That's my actual source code of my application. It's ready to go. So it's going to take that jar file. It's going to upload it to the platform. It's going to use the Java build pack because it's a Java application, and then build a container for me on the best practices for Java applications. It's going to do things like the JVM memory calculator, wire and certificates. Soon we'll see that Java build pack language fire up here and fully cook that. Yeah, so you get the Java build pack. So basically, I went from one command. I'm going into essentially production. I didn't have to build a container. I didn't have to deal with an ingress controller or a fire up or load balancer or certificates or anything like that. It's all just being taken care of for me on the fly here. And I'm also, these services are getting injected into my application, and I don't have to worry about binding them as secrets or anything like that. It's just auto wired in, and we can look at that really quickly here while that spins up. So we go into here, settings. So here we can see where we're getting the, maybe zoom that in a little bit. The like the JDB connection string for the Postgres database. So that the app's going to pick that up through the service binding process and just pick that the connection string, the password, everything ready to go. Same thing for the models, right? So it's getting this API base key. So like we run an OpenAI compatible API. If you're using like Sam Altman's OpenAI, you get an API base, like an API URL and key to hit. So a lot of these have that same flow. So we're also using, this app uses something called SpringAI, which is a framework. So you can easily kind of toggle between these things without rewriting your application as well. So if you're using public models today and want to come back on-prem, you would just kind of simply swap out some keys and be good to go. And we can see that this model is providing a chat capability, and it's a Llama 3.1 model, and actually has an alias of a Sam Altman's model as well. So some libraries don't know how to speak different model names and things like that. So that's where those aliases come into play. And very similarly, we see our embedding model and key and everything, and we're labeling that capability as embedding because we would then have some code in there to detect what model's what, and then when we make different calls, they know to call the right model. So that's kind of a key capability there within that process. So let's refresh our screen here. All right, so it started. Maybe it's a little. Oh, it looks okay. Maybe it's a little too zoomed in, but we can look. You can see the Spring, because the Spring application. So we're starting to see all the Spring actuator endpoints data, like health checks and everything there. So if you're a Java dev, you'll like to see that. You can see threads as well and heap dumps. So if you ever try to pull a heap dump out of like a Kubernetes cluster, that's problematic at best. So you can just pull it out right here. And you can go into route here. We're going to go here. This is the app in production, live, ready to go. command plus plus. So I'm ready. I've got my application. I didn't have to like do anything to get it on a URL, and it's ready to go. So, and we have this Spring Music Assistant. So we got our chatbot. It's ready to go. And this version of Spring Music is called Spring Metal. It's very tailored to like the metal bands like Metallica and things like that. So let's ask it a question. What album does Nick really like? And it should come back with something like, I don't know who Nick is, and I'm not sure what you're asking me. And I'm not. So, but given the context are these albums. So these albums are all stored as embeddings and getting passed to the model. So it doesn't know what I like, but it's suggesting that maybe, Black Sabbath. There's a lot of Black Sabbath models, so maybe Nick likes one of those. But now we can add a model, or add an album, excuse me, which then creates an embedding. We'll go add an album. We'll say VMware Explore 2024 rocks. Let's do, I guess, Metallica. And release year 2024, DevOps. This is Nick's favorite album. User score 100. All right, so we're gonna add this as an album. We can sort review, and now we see it at the top left. So that's stored as like a normal album in the Postgres database, but it's also in the vector.db as an embedding. So when I ask this question again, we're using Llama 3.1, so it's still gonna be kind of sassy about the prompting of that, but it should know about this album now. I cannot reply response about music. Is there anything to help? Well, that's a new one. All right, who produced? Let's see. VMware Explorer, the album. All right, well, the producer VMware Explorer rocks. Okay, well, maybe my embedding broke on this. I'm not quite sure, but it should have came back with a better answer. But this is sometimes the risk of doing live demos, but we can move on here. I have another application that's called Open Web UI that we're running on top of the foundation. And we can see all the different models we've provisioned on here, and they are geared for different things. Let's do a vision demo here. So we're going to talk to a Lava model. Lava is like a vision model itself. So it's geared to, you provided an image, and then it will describe the image and go from there. So let's upload a file. Oh boy. Demo images, here we go. All right, so do this. And then how many are in this image? So I'm uploading the file. Oh, it's really zoomed in here. It's thinking. So how many people are in this image? If you're not familiar, I run a podcast, so Cloud Foundry Weekly. Go check it out if you'd like to hear more about Cloud Foundry. But as this runs up, now this model is spun down because I hadn't been called for a while, so it's going to take a little bit maybe to spin up, but it should come back with some type of answer of what's going on here. Sometimes it's a little slow. All right, there are two people in this image. Okay, so now obviously this you're not going to maybe like analyze advertisements or little stickers for podcasts, but you can see where you could take a model, something like this, and maybe analyze an image of a product or something, or do something like that, and do some kind of maybe take your phone, scan an image, and then have the model tell you what it is, or do some kind of search against that typically would have been a very expensive type of search in the predictive search and maybe like a giant Elasticsearch cluster. But this model can do that for you like on the fly with a lot less infrastructure. So that's another model example of what you could do as well. We can try embeddings on here as well to see what's going on. This app, you can also upload documents. So I have a lot of sessions. The premise behind this demo is I've got a lot of scheduling at VMware Explorer this year. So I put everything in a document, and I've generated a prompt called the VMware Schedule Assistant. And I said, I'm very busy at a VMware Explore this year. Please help me keep track of my schedule. Don't make up answers you don't know, and answer in a friendly but brief style. So let's go to this workspace here, new chat. We'll do Llama 3.1, and then I'm gonna prompt it. So I'll go there, and it's gonna say, all right, I'd be happy to help keep track of it, but it's also like, I don't know who Nick is and that type of thing. So I can pass it this document as an embedding and say, what sessions does Nick have on Wednesday? And then it should maybe hopefully list the sessions I have. All right, so I have a session from 2 to 2:30. Ask me anything about running Cloud Foundry on applications Cloud Foundry, and as well at 3:15. So is there anything, is that it? I think I have 3, so it should come back. So yeah, here, it got the other one too. So now it answered all 3, and you can see the document as well. Here's the data. I just kind of jammed it in this document in not really any kind of format per se, but just coming out of the content catalog. But again, this is another example of like, you would take perhaps some, of your company's documents that you don't want to, out on a public model, and then you could load them up on an application like this, and then kind of make a prompted chatbot style experience as well. Now, I'm not really sure where I am on time, but I'm happy to take questions, and I got more tokens to hand out if anyone's got questions or wants a free T-shirt. That's.
Whether you talked about it briefly, but what's the parity between what we see here and what we're going to see on some of the other side of Kubernetes?
Okay. Whoa. Sorry. Yeah. That was bad. So we have some demos where we deploy these models on the cloud. So he said we'll see parity within Tanzu Platform on the Cloud Foundry and Kubernetes side. So is that essentially okay? So when we see, there are actually some end-to-end demos that we've done where they're using this GenAI tile, and they're also brokering to the Kubernetes side as well. So it's a lot of work to build out this models and things. So it's really easy to bind to it. So and I can also on VS Code on my app with continue.dev do that as well. So an app on Kubernetes can easily bind to this too. So that's kind of how we've taken that so far. Now, we wanted to build that the full stack out in Kubernetes as well. We may do that, but there are some challenges about running these models up and down and containers and things like that. It maybe makes a little bit more sense just on dedicated VMs, and then also it may get to a point too where what models do you want to run? Are you just looking for CPU models, or are you also doing VMware Private AI Foundation? And then just run models there, and we'll broker to that. You don't have to worry about that type of thing. So, yeah. And what you have access to internally too, right? Because an H100 is $60,000 a piece. So if you have a few of those, we might as well put them in private AI Foundation. Yeah, and then we can broker to that too, but you can do also deep learning VMs there and whatever else. So use those as much as you can, because that's a not insignificant investment to get. Yeah. Yeah. Here, you get a token. I'll try to get out of here without echoing a lot. Yeah. I can't hear you. Sorry. Sorry. What was say that again?
You said that this integrates with Private AI Foundation. Mm-hmm. Is it possible to see how you can do it, or is it too long?
I have a session Thursday where we're going into that, but I can show it really quickly here. Here. I'll try to bring it up really quick. I can't do a super long demo on it, but I can show you the screen. Yeah.
I mean, if it's longer than a minute.
Yeah, I can show you what it looks like, but not long. Yes.
Quick question: the GenAI portal you have shown, to get access to
So it's part of the Tanzu Platform for Cloud Foundry runtime. So you deploy that, and then you add the tile that you add. Yeah. Here. So here, I can answer 2 questions at once. Yeah. So, all right. So this is what we call Tanzu Ops Manager or Tanzu Operations Manager. It's essentially an OVA you deploy, and then you load all these tiles. So we have the GenAI and Tanzu Platform. We have Tanzu Application Service. We have all these other tiles that data services and things as well. But I don't think this foundation, I don't have, it's my home lab. I don't have a private AI foundation in my home lab, but I can show you how you could wire it up right here. So you could add to, like, if you have VMware private AI foundation models, right? So essentially you deploy a deep learning VM, right? And then it will run like NIM, some type of NIM, right? Whatever model you want to run. And then it will provide you with an endpoint. Like, so you essentially give it the model name. So like we have testing it, we're running the Meta Llama 3.1 model and wiring that in. You can add aliases. You can do the capabilities that you want. Sorry, I'll zoom in a little here. And then essentially you pass it the base address that you've wired up your DL, like the IP or DNS entry of your DLVM, whatever keys you have provide, like however you set up your DLVM, and then we can just wire that in. And then when we do that and deploy that, that becomes a plan in that marketplace. So we can just use the private AI foundation models and just allow, and then we actually create virtual keys in the developer side. So they don't actually get the direct keys to the deep learning VM. We kind of broker that for them. So we can just say, hey, you get access, and the platform engineer can control who gets access to what. So you would work with like the private AI team and say, I need like 5 DLVMs on whatever crazy GPUs model, whatever, right? And then the platform engineer would get the keys to it. And then developers would just get a plan, say you can deploy on this, but they would never have direct API. It'd all be proxied and brokered. So they couldn't like get like on that directly, right? So hopefully that answers your question. Yeah. I need more. I got one more token. One free T-shirt of something. I can't collect it because I'm a Broadcom employee. So, all right. Well, all right. Well, thanks for hanging out. Yeah.